Kathy leases her cars. Doug finances his. Same 56 years old, same street in Barrie, same $45,000 SUV in both driveways this month. Both of them think they outsmarted the dealer. For 4 years, Kathy looks right. Her payment is almost $300 a month lower, and she's the one who looks like she did the math. The dealer is happy to let her think that, because the monthly payment is a magician's hand. It moves where they want your eyes. Year 5 is when the other hand shows up. Let's keep it honest, because this only works if the two deals are identical. Same car, same $45,000 sticker, same $5,000 down, same 6.9%, which is about the going rate on a new car loan in Canada in 2026. The only thing different is the paper they signed. One is renting the first most expensive years of the car's life. The other is buying the whole thing. And the number that decides who actually wins is not the payment either of them brags about at the barbecue. It's a number neither of them sees coming until the 5th summer. So let's build both deals from the ground up. Real dollars, no hand waving. Doug is the simple one, because he's just buying the car. The whole car, which means he pays tax on the whole car. $45,000 plus 13% harmonized sales tax in Ontario is $50,850 out the door. He puts $5,000 down, borrows $45,850 at 6.9% over 60 months, and lands on a payment of about $906 a month. That's right in line with the roughly $900 the average new car loan in Canada runs now, so this isn't a stretched example. For 5 years, he owns almost nothing, and the bank owns the car. Then he makes his last payment, and in a single afternoon, he owns all of it. Now Kathy, and this is where people's eyes glaze over, so here it is in plain terms. Kathy is not buying the car. She's paying for the part of it she uses up and nothing else. The car is worth $45,000 today. At the end of her 4-year lease, the leasing company figures it's still worth about half that, roughly $22,500. That leftover is the residual, and it's the whole trick. Kathy only pays for the drop, the $22,500 the car loses while she's driving it, plus a finance charge on top. Same 9%, because we're keeping this fair. With her $5,000 down, her payment is about $544 before tax. Ontario adds 13%, and she's at $615 a month. There it is. Doug pays $906. Kathy pays $615. Kathy wins, obviously hold that thought, because now I have to show you the one fact the whole decision hangs on, and it's the fact the payment is built to hide. A new car does its worst bleeding early. Drive it off the lot, and it loses roughly a quarter of its value in the first year alone. By year 5, a typical car has shed about half of what you paid. Not because anything's wrong with it, it's worth less the second it stops being new, and Canadian Black Book and the Federal Consumer Agency both put the drop in that range. Now look at what leasing actually is with that curve in front of you. Kathy signs up for the first 4 years, the steepest, most expensive part of that slide, every single time. Then she hands the car back right as the bleeding slows down and starts the worst stretch over again on a brand new one. Doug eats those same steep years once. Then he keeps the car straight through the flat part of the curve, the cheap years, the paid-off years, the part leasing never lets you reach. Keep that picture in your head, because now we watch it play out. Years 1 through 4, Kathy is laughing. She's paying $291 a month less than Doug, which is almost $14,000 less out of her account over 4 years. And she's doing it in a car that still smells new and hasn't cost her a nickel in repairs. She's driving to the cottage in a fresh SUV, while Doug's is collecting door dings in the Canadian Tire lot, and he's writing a $906 check for the privilege. If you're leaning toward Kathy right now, you're not being naive. For 4 years, she is genuinely ahead. But here's what nobody adds up at the signing table. Start with the mileage. Every lease has a cap, and in Canada, it's usually around 20,000 kilometers a year. Fine for a commuter. Not fine for a 56-year-old who drives to the lake every second weekend and takes a road trip to the grandkids 2 provinces over. Say Kathy runs 25,000 kilometers a year. That's 5,000 over every year at 15 to 20 cents a kilometer. Nobody hands you that bill monthly. It waits, and it lands in one lump when you turn the car in. Then the tax, and this one is pure Canada. Doug paid harmonized sales tax once on the price, and he never pays a cent of tax on his loan interest. Kathy pays 13% on every single lease payment, and that includes the finance charge. She's paying tax on the interest, month after month, which a person who buys the car simply never does. And if she ever buys the car out at the end, she pays H. ST all over again on the buyout. The CRA isn't singling her out. That's just how leasing is taxed, and almost nobody runs that math before they sign. Add the small stuff. Curb a rim, stain a seat, let the dog have the back bench. On your own car, that's your business. On a lease, that's an inspection and a bill. Now year 5. This is where the whole thing turns. Doug makes his last loan payment. The next month, his payment doesn't drop. It's gone. For the first time in 5 years, he owns the entire car, worth maybe $24,000, and every dollar of it is his. That same month, Kathy pulls in and hands her keys back. She owns nothing, not a bolt. She signs lease number 2, resets her payment, and the clock starts from scratch. Let me be fair about the scoreboard here, because on raw cash, Kathy is still ahead at this point. 5 years in, she's spent about $42,000, and Doug has spent $59,360. She looks like she's winning by 17 grand. But that's the last snapshot where it's true, and here's why. From this month on, Doug's payment is 0, and Kathy's is $615 and climbing. She's still bleeding, and he's stopped. Around year 7, the running totals cross, and Kathy never leads again. Years 8 through 10, the gap runs away. Doug has no car payment for 5 straight years. Take that old $906 he isn't paying anymore, drop it into a tax-free savings account at 6% for those free years, and it grows to about $63,000. Or he does nothing clever at all and just enjoys not having a payment while he drives a paid-off car. Either way, he wins quietly, every month. Kathy is still paying. By year 10, she's on to lease number 3, and the car she's driving still isn't hers. Add it all up at the 10-year mark. Kathy has spent roughly $79,000 on cars, being generous to the lease, and owns exactly nothing. A drawer of returned key fobs. Doug spent $59,360 and is sitting on a car worth around $12,000 he can sell tomorrow. That's a swing of more than $31,000 on the identical vehicle before you count the free years. Count those, and the real gap is closer to $80,000. Now, the salesman has an answer ready for all this, and it's a good one. So let's deal with it honestly. He'll tell Kathy she's always under warranty, that she'll never get hit with a surprise repair bill. And that's true. It's also true for Doug. A new car in Canada comes with a bumper-to-bumper warranty that usually runs 3 years and a powertrain warranty that often runs 5. So for the first stretch, the exact years Kathy is paying a premium to stay covered, Doug is covered too, for free. On a car he's busy paying off. Yes, once Doug's warranty ends, the odd repair is on him. A set of brakes, a battery, maybe a bigger job around year 8. Add every one of them up, and it's a rounding error next to a car payment that never stops. A $600 repair once a year is not a reason to pay $7,000 a year to own nothing. And I have to be just as honest about the other side, because financing only wins if you don't sabotage it, and plenty of people do. Here's how they blow it. They walk in fixated on the monthly payment. The dealer stretches the loan to 84 months, 7 years, sometimes 8, to hit the number they asked for, and the whole advantage evaporates. A new car loses value faster than an 8-year loan pays it down, so for the first 3 or 4 years, you owe more than the car is worth. The Financial Consumer Agency of Canada has a name for it, negative equity, and it's exactly the trap it sounds like. Trade that car in early, and the shortfall, which by some measures averages around $6,700, gets rolled straight into your next loan. You've just rebuilt the lease treadmill, except with worse terms and a bigger balance. Long loans like this have gone from rare to common in Canada, which is a big part of why so many people quietly assume owning a car isn't worth it. So financing wins on 2 conditions. Keep the loan short, 60 months, not 84, and then actually keep the car after it's paid off. Do both, and you win by the numbers we just ran. Do neither. Stretch to 7 years and trade every 4, and you've built yourself a lease with extra steps and paid more for the privilege. So run your own number for a second. Be honest about how long you actually keep a car. If the answer is until it dies in the driveway, then every lease cycle hands the dealer the fastest dropping years of a car's life, over and over, and never keeps the cheap paid off years for yourself. You rent those to somebody else and start again. Now, before you tear up your lease, I have to be fair the other direction too, because there are real people for whom leasing is the right call. This isn't guru math where one side is always the villain. Sometimes the losing side wins outright. The biggest one is if you run a business or you're self-employed. In 2026, the CRA lets you deduct lease payments up to $1,100 a month plus tax on a passenger vehicle. Buy the same car instead, and you're capped hard. You can only claim depreciation on the first $39,000 of the price, and your loan interest deduction maxes out at $350 a month. For a lot of business use vehicles, the lease gives you a bigger, cleaner write-off and simpler books, and when your tax return is quietly paying for part of the car, the whole calculation can flip. The second is when the manufacturer is bribing you to lease. Some 2026 models carry subsidized lease rates under 2%, well below anything a bank will give you on a loan. That figure is model specific and it changes monthly, so confirm it at the dealer. But if the lease rate is 1.9% and the loan is 6.9%, you run the numbers again. Because now leasing can win straight up. The third is if you genuinely trade every 3 or 4 years no matter what. If you were never keeping the car anyway, leasing skips the depreciation gut punch and the hassle of selling a used car out of your driveway. For that person, honestly, lease. And the fourth is if you're nervous about electric vehicle resale values, which have been the shakiest on the road. Leasing hands the residual guess to the leasing company, so if you don't want to bet on what a used electric vehicle is worth in 2030, let them carry that risk instead of you. So if you're a contractor, or the dealer's waving a 1.9% lease at you, or you've traded every 3 years since the last century, relax. You're playing a different game, and you might already be winning it. But for everyone else, the person who keeps a car 8, 10, 12 years, the retiree who wants a paid-off vehicle and a smaller monthly life, the math is not close. Here's the real trap. The same one Kathy and Doug both walked into for 4 years without knowing it. The trap is never leasing. Leasing is just a tool. The trap is deciding on the monthly payment, because the payment is the one number the salesman controls, and it buries everything that matters underneath it. The term, the tax on every dollar, the residual, the mileage cap, and the quiet fact that at the end of a lease, you own nothing. The number that tells the truth is cost per year of driving, measured over how long you really keep a car. Run that, and for most Canadians who hold a vehicle past 5 years, financing wins by a wider margin than the payment ever hinted. And if you're now thinking, fine, but should I finance at all? Or save up and pay cash? Or buy something 2 years old and let the first owner eat the worst of that depreciation curve? That's a different video, and the math changes all over again. I'll run it. If this put a number in front of you the dealership never would, subscribe. I run the real math on one Canadian money decision every week. In plain dollars, no lanyard required.